Very good. I'd like to open the fifth of our 6 listening sessions this year. I'm Bob Petrine. I'm currently RA's treasurer and an at-large director. We are joined this afternoon by a number of people, but the purpose of this session is to impart some information to y'all, but more than that is an opportunity for members to speak to us. And many of the people that are here, even if they are staff and directors, do live in Reston. So it's going to be an interesting session. Thank you very much for coming. I'd first of all like to go around the room and introduce the directors that are here. We have our president, Sarah Silverage de Souza, our treasurer, Erwin Flashman.
Secretary, you're the treasurer.
Oh,
I'm giving that
secretary. I want to avoid that designation, if at all possible, this afternoon.
Well, you could be both in the future. It's up to you.
Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. Erwin Flashman, our secretary. Travis Johnson, at-large director at the moment. Let's see, who else, which other directors? And Margaret Perry, the Hunters Woods Dogwood director, and John Farrell, another at-large director. In terms of staff, we are joined by our CEO, Matt Cummings, our COO, Larry Butler, Laura Kowalski, Director of Recreation and Environmental Education, Megan Cozy, who works in Covenants, and I know she's got a much better title than I remember. Cam Adams, who is the Director of Covenants, Chris Shoemaker, who is Director of Capital Projects, Mike Leone, who is our Communications and Marketing Director, Sean Barami, the guy that makes all the technology work. And so, Sean, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your title. And Ashley Soloff, who is the Community Program Manager. Great. So that is our intent this afternoon, is to share a couple of high-level topics that we've chosen that impact the entire community. And I'd like to then turn it over to questions that people have, and also provide, during the course of our conversation this afternoon, an opportunity for those candidates who are running for the Board of Directors election, which started on March 1st on Wednesday and ends on March 31st at promptly at 5 p.m. An opportunity to speak to everyone and let them express why they want to be on the Board of Directors. So, if we could, let's go ahead and get started. Ready? Sure.
Thanks, Bob. I am Travis Johnson. I am a recent addition to the Board of Directors. I live on Dry River Court in the Hamlet cluster. I've been here for about 16 years, and I'm happy to be with you today and an at-large member of the Board of Directors. To start off today's session, I wanted to let everyone know that all 9 candidates running for seats on the Board of Directors were invited to today's session so they could introduce themselves to you. There are 5 open seats on our 9-member Board of Directors. This year, members will be electing an at-large director for a 3-year term, an at-large director for a 2-year term, an at-large director for a 1-year term, the Hunters Woods Dogwood District Director, and the apartment owners representatives here. This afternoon, each of these candidates will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves to you. I see several of them here in the room, and I'm going to give them the opportunity to speak when I call on them. So I'm going to introduce each of them. So we've got 3 folks running for the 3-year at-large director seat. Firstly, Gene Zapfel. I don't believe that Gene is here. Secondly, we have John Farrell. So John, if you'd like to introduce yourselves to the group, come on down or say it from there.
I'm not going to take 3 minutes, except to ask you to vote. We need to make a quorum. The other thing I would suggest that you do is check out YouTube. We have our full debate from the other night, and that gives you a much broader understanding of all of the candidates who ran. And that's something that I would strongly encourage all of you to look at. We're watching on everybody else in this room is probably there or watching simultaneously with the broadcast, this live stream. So that's all I'm going to do. There's a longer opening in that YouTube that is much more comprehensive, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. So thank you. Please vote. Oh, last thing. One of the things I'm really proud of is that we're going to do a survey of the membership. And I push very hard for that because we really do need to understand what our membership wants. And that's going to kick off this May. It's really important for everybody to participate. You'll have a chance to do it online. We will have iPads at the pools and the tennis courts and the farmers market, and there'll be lots of opportunity. So we really want to get a sense of what the membership would like to do with parks and recreation facilities going forward. So please vote and please participate in the survey. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, John. Next, we've got Margaret Perry. Margaret, if you'd like to come on down.
Well, the price is right.
Is
That's right, my age. Price right school.
It's still on.
Okay. So my name is Margaret Perry. I am running for the 3-year at-large seat. I am currently the Hunters Woods Dogwood District Supervisor, and I have truly enjoyed, or director, sorry. I've truly enjoyed that. I've really tried to get out there and assist people, talk to people, get to know people, but I felt that we had someone who was also interested in running for that seat who would do a really great job, so I chose to run for at-large. So, you know, like John said, we have the RAC survey coming up. This is our 5th listening session. There is one more for the South Lakes District, but I invite everyone to reach out to any of us on the board. You can also go to my website, which is mperry, Perry-Reston.com, and reach me that way also. I want to hear from people. I know the rest of the board members also want to have discussions and talk to people, and we're happy to try and answer questions, and if we don't have the answers, we will work on getting those answers for you. So please take the time to get to know all of the candidates, and I hope you'll consider voting for me, but at a minimum, just vote. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Margaret. And moving on to the at-large director 2-year term seats. First, we have Trevor Grywatch. Trevor, if you'd like to come on up and speak for a few moments. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Trevor Grywatch. I know many of you in this room I've given this spiel to a few different times, but for those that may be listening virtually and anyone else that I haven't gotten a chance to meet, my name is Trevor Grywatch. I'm running for the 2-year at-large position. I actually grew up just down the road behind the Fox Mill Shopping Center on Woodcock Lane over there, and currently live in the South Lakes District at 11305 Taffrail. I love this area. I grew up in this area, played sports in this area, and love this town, and really look at this directorship as a way to give back to a community and to an area that's given so much to me. I now live here with my wife and 7-month-old daughter, and we're so excited to be able to kind of establish our roots as adults in this area and be able to give back and volunteer to this community. again, I'll reiterate, please vote. I think it's incredibly important. We're excited about all of the really qualified candidates that we have on the ballot this year. And thank you for any consideration that you would be willing to give me. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Trevor. And next we've got Jalal Mabur.
Thank you. Listen, I'm not going to take 3 minutes. This is all about listening to you as opposed to listening to me. But 30-year resident of Reston, I have seen Reston from the days of no town center, no metro stations, to what we have today. We've learned to adapt, improvise, work with everybody here, and we're still a big community. And I think that's what the Reston culture is all about. And that's Robert Simon's vision for community to be together. One of the things that I will focus on is to think about the future of Reston. Next year, 2024, is the 60th anniversary of Reston as a place. The time to think about the future is now. We need some forward-thinking leadership in RA to start to think about how we work with other organizations, community, county, government, etc., to address issues that affect Reston. Our infrastructure is getting old by the day. Our population is going to go up, and we have to think about how we're going to manage these things with fiscal responsibility and everything else. We're at an inflection point right now, and the need for forward-thinking leadership is as great as it's ever been. I'm running because I care about Reston. We're not moving away. We're staying here. We want to live here as our home until forever. So if I'm elected, I will focus on issues that affect Reston, and I will work with everybody in the community and the board members as a team member and compromise and get consensus on things that affect Reston. I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
And then moving on to the at-large director, one-year term position, we've got Michael Brandland. I don't think Michael is here, so our next is Bob Petrini, who you already had the opportunity to meet.
I've been at 47 years. It's hard to believe that we've lived in Reston that long, 2/3 of my entire life. And I'm running to retain my board seat and hopefully be treasurer for another year. I believe Reston is at an inflection point, as Jalal mentioned. On a much organizationally, we are at a point where we have innumerable numbers of amenities that have to be renovated or renewed. They are expensive, it costs money, and all of the other things that people have come to assume that Reston does and does well need to continue. So as all the other candidates have also mentioned, it is important that you vote. So please vote. Thank you very much.
And then next, we've got the Hunters Woods Dogwood District Director, who has a 3-year term, and the one person running for that seat is me. So I prefer not to monopolize the time, but all I will do is reiterate everyone else's call to please vote. We need a 10% quorum to get the candidates seated. So please, vote if you are a homeowner or if you are a renter. Remember, I was a long-term renter here. I know, and I think we've got another board of directors member who's a renter. Renters have a voice here in our community. Use it and vote. Moving on from myself, we've got the apartment owners representative who also has a 3-year term. That's Mike Collins. Mike is not with us today. So I think we're going to move on to a commercial that's been put together for the election. So I'm just going to stand down and let that get inserted.
That's you.
So that's where I took.
That's you.
Okay.
You are the
Sorry, I thought we had, in any case, so I just spoke about that. Voting for the Board of Directors opened on Wednesday. It'll run through March 31st, as Bob said, 5 p.m. promptly. So please get your ballots in. All property owners and renters have a voice and have a vote when you use it. You can access the voting portal online via the RA website at reston.org, or you can mail in your ballot. Ballots were sent to all member homes this week. So lastly, we need your vote. You need 10% of the vote to make it official. Please make it happen. Thanks very much. Back to Bob.
In all of our listening sessions, we've tried to tee up topics that we thought would be of interest to the members, and because at-large is just that, at-large, we tried to stay with topics that affect the entire community. So we'd like to begin by having Megan McCosey, who's Covenants Outreach Manager, speak to how the Covenants team serves as a resource for the membership, both the clusters as well as the single-family homeowners. Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Megan Cozy. I'm a community outreach manager in the Covenants Administration. We have, in addition to a couple other resources printed out here, we have this very fancy schmancy presentation with an overview of what we do and who we are in Covenants Administration printed out there, which I would like to summarize by just saying we are here to help. Our department is staffed with approximately 20 community management professionals who perform all manner of function related to administering and enforcing Reston's protective covenants, with a daily eye to the fact that conforming with Reston's protective covenants while improving or maintaining or buying or selling your property in Reston can be one of the more complicated aspects. And again, we are here to help. I personally supervise 7 dedicated covenants advisors who have a portfolio of residential properties that they administer, and they are available every day, 8:30 to 5, to answer any questions that you might have. I also am dedicated to improving and enhancing the relationship between the sub-HOAs, or the cluster associations and condo associations in Reston, and the master Reston Association. It's such a critical relationship and helps us to support our membership in an even better fashion. So we're here in Covenants to help, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I have business cards if you have anything specific that you'd like to ask me. Thank you.
Since I can't find the button on my lavalier bike, I'm going to use the stand-up bike. I'd like to introduce Laura Kowalski, who is RA's Recreation and Environmental Education Director, to come up and make a few remarks. This is the most obvious part of what Reston Association does, and probably the most fun for the greatest number of
That's
people.
a great introduction.
So, Laura, take it.
So I will, I'll explain the fun. So my name is Laura Kowalski. I'm the Director of Recreation and Environmental Education for Reston Association and Member Services. So I'm happy to be here today to talk with you a little bit about what we do. We have a variety of activities through Reston, and before I do that, I will share with you that I grew up in Reston. So it's really my pleasure to be able to give back the play and the fun that I had as a kid. So it's really a pleasure to be able to be in this position. So most of our information is on our website, and hopefully on your coffee tables you all have this, maybe in your bathroom, in your car, I don't care where, but as long as you use it. This is for all ages. It has how to engage with us, our website. Our member services team is located just here in this building at our headquarters on Sunrise Valley Drive.
and they're happy to assist you with a variety of things, from recreation passes that are now on sale. Camps are now on sale, and the last meeting I reported that we were about 50%, and we're at 57% full now, so we're just moving right along. So don't wait to register for camps. We also do have scholarships available, so for our youth program. So not just camps, this is also for swimming lessons and tennis lessons. We have a lifeguard scholarship program. We also do a reimbursement for certification for lifeguarding, and also our youth programs at the Walker Nature Education Center. So if help is needed, please just ask. It's provided by our Friends group, the Friends of Reston, who help support that program for the association. Community events, we just had an event next door, the Appraisal Roadshow, where members could bring their trinkets and valuables and see how much they may be next door. So our tennis is open, and I hope Volunteer Reston. I couldn't forget Volunteer Reston. So the many directors that are here today are volunteers themselves. So we thank them for that. And we also have a very robust volunteer program from if you want to be in the field and pulling invasive plants, or if you'd like to help with a program. If you'd like to help administratively, we have something that we can match you with. So please join us to volunteer. I will also reiterate what Directors Perry and Director Farrell mentioned is we do have a community survey that's coming. It opens on May 1st. So you will start to see a lot of marketing beginning down to April 1st for this. So please take the time to do the survey. Our hope is that by the time you get to the end of the survey period, you're just running away from us saying, I've already taken the survey for it, it's okay. So I appreciate your time, and I'll take any questions if you have any. That's it. All right, Director Perry.
I just want to make sure, if someone doesn't speak English and needs assistance, how would they go about getting that help?
So handy dandy here, I have our youth scholarship form in Spanish. And if there is another language, you're welcome to reach out. We will do our very best to assist you with that as well.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce our Director of Capital Projects, Chris Shoemaker. When I joined the board, I didn't realize just how many capital assets we have. There are over 1,400, and he manages them. He's going to speak about some of the community projects that we're in the midst of right now, and as well as a brief look forward over the next 5 years of the projects and renovations that our area is going to be doing. Chris?
A couple notes here. So yes, I'm Chris Shoemaker, Director of Capital Projects for Reston Association. I am one of a 3-member team that operates all 1,400 asset replacements for the association. Anything capital in Reston means between $5,000 and above with a 3-year life expectancy. So nowadays with inflation, a lot of things you wouldn't think about are actually hitting that mark, but we also manage these major projects like Lake Throw, which is in the millions. And so, speaking of Lake Throw, that's probably one of the most high visibility projects we have going on right now. That renovation is moving along pretty well. We're right around the 50% mark on completion. I just did a video about it actually just the other week. You should see that in RA News. And so the retaining walls are up. A lot of the structural elements are just about getting wrapped up, and now some of the exciting stuff like the bathhouse renovation and the addition to that is going to be kind of kicking off here pretty soon. So we're hoping to have that project completed sometime between mid and late summer, but there's still a long way to go still, so we're going to try to keep on top of the schedule as much as we can and try to get it open as early as we can. Another major project we have is the Shadowwood Pool refurbishment. So the construction documentation on that is just about wrapped up, and we're going to phase this project in order to get it open faster. We've had to go through the process of getting all the different elements, especially the gas heating of the main pool and the splash pad conversion. Getting through Fairfax County and Washington Gas is going to take more time than I want to waste, especially for another season that this facility has been closed for long as it is. So we're going to try to get the main pool up and operational, the filtration system, get it squared, chip out, all that kind of things, all the repair work done as well, and then try to get it open as quickly as we can. The other elements will then kick off in the fall and then be operational by the 2024 swim season. So that'll give us a little more time to get through the permitting and the engineering of it, and then have it operational, ready to go fully by '24. One after that is Hunters Woods Ball Field redevelopment. So another big project, everyone's very interested, I know. The site plan has been approved by Fairfax County. We're getting ready to then release the RFP to all of the pre-identified contractors. So as soon as we have those proposals back in and selected, we should get the construction underway on that. Should take between 3 and 6 months, depends on the weather. But we have a lot of things going on there, including a pathway that goes around it, so a great walking path. There's a lot of new landscaping and park furniture, so we're going to reactivate this baseball field that's basically been sitting kind of unused for many, many years now. And then another project, I'm sure it's got a lot of interest, is the Barton Hills tennis renovation. So we actually have selected a date for the community meeting that will be on March 22nd, right here in this room from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. We'll go through all the details of the project and answer any questions the public may have about it. So we're going to be doing the reconstruction of the tennis court. We're going to convert some of it to pickleball. And so we anticipate once we get that underway, it'll take about 4 to 6 months, because some of those things are really weather dependent, especially in color coding. Paint doesn't like cold weather, and especially that kind of paint, which is critical to go down perfectly. Some of that may end up going over into next year, but it all depends on exactly when we start. We still have to get through this meeting, we have to get through DRB, finalize procurement, and then get construction. And the tennis industry is relatively small, so there's not many contractors that do that kind of work. So it's going to be, interesting to try to find someone we can grab and get over there and start working on it. But that's coming. Now, kind of looking further out is on the 5-year capital improvement plan. So a couple of years ago, we established our first 5-year SIP plan, which is very much like other municipalities in the area have, Deanna, Herndon, Leesburg. They all have these type of plans. So instead of operating just on a biannual basis and then looking at 10-year averages, we're trying to drill down a bit tighter on what's coming up in the next 5. And so we're getting into these a lot more, understanding scope, trying to get cost details, and we're establishing this plan. So in the next 5 years, we'll have about $17.5 million of capital work to execute. But $14 million of that is just in major projects, and that's anything that's over $500,000. That's what we consider a major project. So we have, another pool renovation at GCI coming up in like 26. Ridge Heights is a couple years after that. We've got Shadowwood tennis renovations, Uplands tennis renovations. So we have a lot of these major projects that are also slated in the next 5 years. We also have about $820,000 of new acquisitions planned. So these are things that are not currently in our asset inventory. An example is the Hook Road bathroom pavilion, which was an element that was requested and driven by the Hook Road Working Group. I think it was back in 2017, 2018 when we did that. So that developed a master plan. It had a couple new elements there that we're going to put in. And so that's one of the examples of that bathroom installation occurring. I think that's sometime around 25, 26. So there's a lot to go on right now. It's going to be very busy. As Bob's mentioned, we are an aging community. We're hitting 60 years old. And some of these assets are almost that old, or somewhere in that 50 to 40 year time period. So they're up for the replacement now. So it's going to be an exciting time to look at these sites, engage with the community, come up with some new ideas on how to make them more functional in this day and age. But we also have to understand that we are dealing still with a very volatile construction industry. With the infrastructure bill passing, I'm already seeing articles about, all these localities trying to grab all the money, which means grabbing up contractors and resources. So it's going to be interesting to kind of battle with them on that. But it's a fight I think we can still get through and win. And still get a lot of work done as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
2 questions. I just want to be very clear. The plan is to open Shadowwood Pool this summer with additional features coming later. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. And then the second question is, there's this wonderful, my understanding is that the Glade tennis courts are also being redone, and I'd be curious on an anticipated timeline for that.
So we are preparing we've gotten some of the bids back already on that work. We still have to go through Fairfax County on the permitting for the lighting replacements we have there. And we also have to go through DRB. So a lot of these elements are kind of kicking through. Engineers are working on the required permit documentation and then filed through Fairfax County. So we expect to have that maybe going off here. We're thinking sometime around late Q2, maybe early Q3. And then construction on that one also is very weather dependent. Clay courts, which is what Glade is, we only have one other one, which is North Hills, are subsurface irrigated. So in order to play on those courts, you actually have to water them. And so you don't want to start getting all that work too late in the year because then it's going to freeze and cause damage. So there's a potential that could end up being reopened next year, but we're going to try to get through as much as we can and try to get it open maybe by late fall, but try not to put it in a time period where we'll then have to just shut right back down again anyway because frost is coming, but it is coming.
And I apologize, but I'd like to do a follow-up question on that because you did mention the lighting. And as many people know, those Glade tennis courts are the closest courts to homes in Reston. There is no lovely buffer between those courts and the houses. And I just want to make sure, what is the best way, if people have concerns about those lights, what is the best way to reach out so that they can get confirmation on what that's going to look like, which I'm very excited about because I know that there's some really wonderful upgrades coming.
So contact Capital Projects Department, capitalprojects@reston.org. We also have a web page on the RA website that goes through all the major projects. We have an interactive map, and we're also creating individual major project pages. So Glade will actually have one of its own as well. We already have Barton Hill, Hunters Woods, Lake Throw, Shadowwood should be up by next week. And we'll have one for Glade once we have a few more of those details put together. So that's a great resource to go and find all the information you may want to know about it once those are online. But when in doubt, contact us.
The tennis court renovations at Glade going to include?
Can't really play pickleball on clay courts that I'm aware of unless there's some avenue to do that, but no, it's not a facility you can do that at.
And they're also too close to the houses.
Yes,
That's why-
that too.
That's what I was asking, Nikki.
So I wanted to ask you something as a member, not as a candidate here. Just a little bit of tongue in cheek here. When John Glenn was sitting on top of the rocket before it made the flight, the reporter asked him, "Hey John, how do you feel?" And he said, "Well, how do I feel sitting on top of a rocket built by the lowest bid contractor?" So when you think about all these capital projects that you're going after, from a competitive basis, when you do the selection, do you go for the lowest bid, or do you also think about what everybody's now thinking in terms of resilience, that maybe you'll have to pay a little bit extra, but the return on that extra dollar carries you not for the next 5 years, but maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, things like climate change, mitigating flood, everything else and so on. So that's just one question. The second question I have is there a process that you follow to listen to the members as far as what they want? For example, tennis courts, pickleball, lake, swimming pool, this, that, so on, or you just go by what you have in the time?
So from the procurement standpoint, no, we are not a government entity that where I have to pick the lowest bidder. We actually have the ability within our resolutions that it is based upon not only price, but also, evaluation and capability of the contractor. So I'm always thinking about that. I've many times not gone with low bidder because I don't know them, I don't have the background on them, some of their references may not have checked out. So we always try to pick the most qualified and capable contractor on a project. For your follow-up question, we do try to reach out to the community in every way we can with communications on projects. Barton Hill Tennis is an example. We're hosting these type of community meetings. We'll try to do that more and more with the other projects we have coming up. DRB is also an avenue to get input on projects as they're filed for application, and everyone's alerted around the community. There's also the budgetary process we have with the board every year where they can impart suggestions or requests of new things or things you don't want to see differently done on some of these projects as they're discussed and brought up as through that process. And in addition, you can always contact the Capital Projects Department. We'd love to take input, suggestions, and if it's something that we can do and it's feasible and it's within our directives, we'll try to do it. But we're always looking for that input, and we do all the communication streams we can leading up to and then during the project's execution.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Our last topic is going to be addressed by our at-large director, Travis Johnson. It's one of those topics that has become much more of a concern for people in the community, and that is EV charging, electric vehicle charging. And Travis has been kind enough to speak to what's happening in that area and what RA is doing to support that effort. He's going to take a few minutes to provide you with information on the process to obtain approval for an EV charging station at your home, and how RA is supporting Fairfax County's Charge Up Fairfax initiative. Travis, take it over.
Thanks, Bob. I want to preface this by saying that the reason I asked to have this included in today's agenda is because I was asked by a number of members about this topic. And the reason we have these things is to, collect information from our members. So I think it's only fair that we start to provide information in much the same way. So to respond to the questions, the DRB, the Design Review Board, has approved many stations on the cluster level and cluster common areas for exclusive individual use for privately owned driveways and in multi-family neighborhoods for community use. If any member of the resident association is interested in getting a charging station, please reach out to your covenants advisor to begin that process. And as Bob was saying about the Fairfax County program, the RA has teamed up with the Charge Up Fairfax program to connect our individual cluster associations with this pilot program that will provide community associations with a reimbursable grant of, I believe, up to $5,000 or a third of the cost of installation. The program is going to kick off this spring, and more information will be made available to members of the community in March. We've also put together a pretty cool video about our EV program. It's on YouTube now. It's available, I think, if you go to Reston.org, or you can ping me on any social media network, and I'm happy to get it out to you. Yes, Mark?
If I recall, I heard recently that Fairfax County has also waived the permit fee for those charging stations. Are you familiar with that at all?
I am not familiar with that, but I'm happy to bring it up with the RA staff. Thanks. Does anybody else have anything else they wanted to bring up? All right, thank you very much. Back to you, Bob.
We've talked quite enough, I think, about things that we thought members would be interested in. So we'd like to open it up to the floor if you have any concerns or questions that you'd like to bring up at all. It's a rather small, intimate group that we're dealing with, of people who know many of the issues already, but we'd like to present the opportunity to answer any questions or attempt to answer questions about what's happening with RA and where you see us going. Anybody have any questions?
Could you tell us how we can understand the budget better? Because the members, you want to get involved in the budget process.
Let me first say that all of the information, all the financial information, more than you would ever want, is available on RA's website. We have made an attempt over particularly the last year to summarize the information consistently. It's still a work in progress. But the budget process virtually begins right now. We will be entertaining suggestions and wants and desires from members beginning in May, and that will go through June. That's usually the first element. Behind the scenes, staff will be looking at their budgets and making determination as to what they need to do their jobs. One of the things that has become abundantly clear to me over the past 3 years is just how many things Reston staff does do that has to be done on site. You cannot trim a tree or cut a lawn by computer yet. So those are the kinds of things that we spend a large portion of our budget. Our budget is very staff dependent to get things done. The other part of the budget, which we are constantly working on to improve the efficiency of systems so that things get done more efficiently, so that staff has time to do the things that they really need to get done. It doesn't really, I'm kind of siding around how, if you want to get involved, one of the most effective ways to make your desires known, number one, show up at physical committee meetings, which are usually the second Wednesday of every month, from 6:30 until done. And we discuss all things financial. The budget, where we are relative to the budget, where we are consistent with projects, where we are going. We look at insurance, we deal with the audit, all of the aspects of the finances. We're not trying to make decisions about what we do, but we will evaluate at the fiscal committee how much it's going to cost and whether we can do it efficiently now, or do we need to defer a project until a future date. One of the things that every member should be aware of is currently we operate on a pay-as-you-go basis. We do not finance projects. The only thing that we financed in the last decade was the acquisition of the Lake House. And that loan was paid off within a couple of years. So everything else that we do it focuses on what money do we need to complete the operation, and then what additional money do we need to have in order to do the repairs and renovations that Chris talked about. We can't do that in any given year. If we were not to be particularly financially responsible, we'd be asking you to write big checks for special assessments. That's not what we want to do. We use a lot of tools that are available to us, plus the great knowledge that Chris and his staff have to plan things forward. But keeping in mind, we want to keep as many amenities open as possible. They have to be safely operated, and we have to be able to staff them. So those are all it's not as simple as coming to a meeting once a month and giving a prayerful look at the budget. It involves a lot of time and a lot of detail. So, any other questions? Okay. So, if there are no other questions, I'm sorry, we've overwhelmed our audience here with, but all of us here have a Reston.org email. If you can't find email, call the main number. They will provide you the information on any of the staff or any of the directors. I find that we're hypersensitive to emails and will respond very quickly. We will try to be as open and honest as we can. We will not talk about pending contracts, because they're pending, but just about everything else that goes on here is an open book. Even though it is required by state law that it has to be open, I think we go the extra mile to make sure that people are aware of what's happening. Are we perfect? No. But we are always, it's a work in progress. One of the things that members can do, and we need it more now than ever before, is on the ballot, there is a place to opt in to receive information from RA. Check that, please. Please opt in. What that does is gives us access to your email address. We will not burden you with enormous amounts of extraneous material, but we will keep you informed. It is a step to move to making the organization more relevant to all the community, just not those who come to meetings, or just not those who, send us emails anonymously or otherwise about what they don't like about what we're doing. But please reach out. We need that information. It is one of the most difficult things. It's a question that comes up constantly. Is how do we communicate with our membership? How can you effectively do it? We have 22,000 homes that we deal with and 60,000 people. If they were all 14 years old, like my grandson, easy peasy, I know where he goes to get his information. Everybody else is a mystery to me. There are, all sorts of social media. Is that effective? There are drawbacks to everything that we do. Would we knock on your door and bother you? I've had a number of doors slammed in my face when I go out and go around the community. It's just that people are busy and don't necessarily know who I am by sight. So keep us informed of what your desires are, what your concerns are. It is our intent to run this operation as skillfully as possible, as financially responsible as possible, and create what our motto is. Together we make Reston great, live, work, play, participate. Thank you very much. Anybody have any? Happy to entertain any questions.
I'll ask one that I know is
Sure.
on a lot of members' minds. Where are we in the process of a new website? And I recognize, Bob, I certainly know how I answer that question, but if there's someone in the room that can answer that more effectively than I can, I'd love to hear it.
I can take that one.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. So we have started the process of really looking at our website. We know that it's not the most user-friendly for our members. The experience isn't particularly great. It's very one-way in that we push out information on it, but there really isn't a way for our members to interact with us through the website so that it's two-way. We did issue an RFP a few months ago to get some feedback from some potential vendors to redesign our website. We're working very closely with the association's IT committee, and one of the things that we're starting to look at now is are there some other applications within RA, things like MemberSuite, which some of our members may have used over the last few weeks to pay their member assessment. We also have WebTrack, which our members use to register for RA programs and activities or to purchase their recreation passes online. So in consultation with the IT committee, what we're starting to do is look at some of those other applications that are member-facing and looking for a way to make sure that as we move forward with the website project, it's really more than a website project. It's really looking at how can we better integrate all of our member-facing applications into a website. So our goal is really to start, we're sort of anticipating around fourth quarter, somewhere in the November timeframe, to have some upgrade to our website. But it'll probably be a phased approach as we look at all of our applications and integration, but we absolutely are moving forward. We have the support of the board to move forward with a new website to overall improve the member experience. So later this year, we should have something that we can provide our members that will be far more advanced than what we're using today.
Thank you.
One thing I would be remiss in doing is recognizing our South Lakes Director, Jennifer Juszczak, who joined us this afternoon. And you have any thoughts?
No, I just want to say hi to everyone. Sorry I was late. I was playing dual mom duty this afternoon. And my daughter had a 1 o'clock birthday party. So just want to say hi. Happy to chat with anyone after the meeting. Connie Harkey, who has been a stalwart in the community for as long as I can remember, even though she's 29, it's like. Any thoughts, Connie? Sure. Please.
May I?
You might.
So everyone here's at home? Thank you, Bob. Hi, I'm Connie Hartke, and many of you know me as the leader of Rescue Reston, the grassroots organization that has been defending the golf courses from development for going on 11 years now, and we are still winning. So I want to just mention about communications. It is really hard these days. I run 2 businesses, and after almost every email I send out, I have to then text that person to ask them, please go search all of your Gmail folders plus spam, or search it to see where Yahoo, but I have just sent you 2 emails, will you please go actively search for them? Folks, learn how to filter important emails. Just Google it. I use Gmail. How do I filter Reston.org to always show up in my primary folder? You've got to do it if you want to stay informed. We try. And I would love if someday the budget would once again allow Reston's, back in when I say the before times, I don't mean before COVID, I mean the way before times when we used to have a lot of information for newcomers. People that moved into Reston Association had articles for them, they held groups here, folders, there's so much, and now people move in, they don't read the package that they're given by the salesperson, and they start cutting down trees. So anyway, actively listen for the people that are important to you, whether that's rescuereston.org or reston.org. Thank you so much.
Anyone else that would like to make a comment? Yes, go ahead.
I know there's a lot of financial information on the website. Is there a way to get a decomposed version of our budget? So, look at line item for, say, communication. Is there a way for us to find some kind of decomposed to a lower level set of information, data set? Yes, that's a simple answer. We have
we've tried to stay away from providing that information every month. But I do have, at our February fiscal committee meeting, we did get an operating statement for year-end 2022, detailed by department. So it's not every expense, but every category of expenses. Okay. I will wrap it up then. I want to thank everyone, particularly the members who showed up, and the staff who took time out of their weekend to be here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your time. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.